Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the instructional video on how to solve absolute value equations. Simply put, when you're solving an absolute value equation, you'll know it's an absolute value equation if you have absolute value symbols and an equal sign. So that would make it simply an absolute value equation. An absolute value equation will always have two solutions, and the reason for this is because the absolute value is the distance a number is from zero. So when I have the most simple absolute value equation, such as this, absolute value of x equals 7, what this really means is that there's two numbers 7 units away from 0, 7 and negative 7. A more complex absolute value equation would look like this, where there's not just a single variable inside the absolute value sign. So we might have a coefficient, we might be adding or subtracting something to that. So what that means is I have to take everything inside the absolute value symbol and set it equal to the positive value of c and also the negative value of c. This instructional video will walk through a couple examples on doing just this, solving absolute value equations. Here is our first example. So take a moment to pause the instructional video and jot down the absolute value of 2x plus 1 is equal to 11. So just want to point out that this is an absolute value symbol, as is that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, what I need to do here is I need to set 2x plus 1 equal to 11 and negative 11. So I will have two solutions to this. So 2x plus 1 equals 11, and 2x plus 1 equals negative 11. Go ahead and pause the instructional video as you solve both equations. As you solve both equations, you should have x equals 5 and x equals negative 6. Now, the solution will look something like this. X equals, I usually put the smallest number first, negative 6, and then I put a comma in 5. You can use an and symbol or the word and. It's important to note, though, this is not an ordered pair, so do not put parentheses around that. Typically, you'll find if you're looking up answers in the answer key or to a worksheet, you'll typically find that teachers or publishers will often put the smallest number first. If you have 5 listed first and negative 6 listed second, that is also considered a correct solution. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here is our second absolute value equation. So take a moment to pause the instructional video and jot down this example. Alright, what I want to point out here that's different than the last absolute value equation is that I have some numbers, an integer, negative 4, outside of the absolute value symbol. So before I'm ready to set up my two equations, I first need to get the absolute value symbol alone, which means I need to get rid of minus 4. So I'm going to go ahead and do that by adding 4 to both sides. And when I do that, I will have the absolute value of 2x plus 3, and I want to make this nice and big so it doesn't look like a 12, equals 25. Now I'm ready to set up my two equations. So it's really important to note that anything on the exterior, like negative 4, outside the absolute value symbol, needs to, we need to get rid of that. So we're going to have to use our inverse operations to get rid of integers or anything that's happening outside the absolute value symbol before I'm ready to carry on with my two equations. So now I'm ready to write my two equations. 2x plus 3 equals 25, and 2x plus 3 equals negative 25. Go ahead and pause the instructional video as you solve both equations. From here you can see the two solutions that I got are x equals 11 and x equals negative 14. If you didn't get those solutions, pause the video, look through my work, and see where our work differs. Alright, now I need to write my final answer. So again, I'm going to write x equals, again I'm going to put the smallest number first, but you don't have to. And so x equals negative 11 or negative 14, excuse me, and x equals positive 11. So those are two examples on how to solve absolute value equations.